Welcome back to FM23. We're approaching the halfway point of Season 6, and so far, everything is going pretty well. We've only lost one game this season. We've only drawn 2 games. The loss and one of those drawn games were both in the Champions League. We're currently sat 5th in the Champions League phase. We're top of the table, but we do have some big games coming up in this episode. We've got games against PSG in the Champions League, Porto and Benfica in the league. And we may also have yet another Allianz Cup semi-final if we don't do anything stupid in our final group stage game. Before we get into the action, if you do enjoy the video, please like, comment and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get going. We've made it to Boxing Day in our last game of the year. It's a home game against Porto. And again, since the last episode, things have gone really, really well. We started with a home game against PSG in the Champions League, which we thought was going to be a difficult game. We did make a couple of changes in that we gave Morita and Krastev starts in midfield and gave Matheus Fernandes and Guilherme Santos some rest. We really came on strong in the second half. The first half, neither team really did an awful lot. Second half, we came on strong, and Thiago Thomas picked up the only goal of the game with an assist from Arda Güler. Really, we weren't troubled too much at the back. They had a couple of chances late on, but otherwise, we were pretty good value for the 1-0 victory. We then went away to Lechos in the final game of the Allianz Cup group stage. When you look at the match stats, and particularly the XG, the scoreline did kind of flatter us a bit. But we picked up a couple of goals in quick succession early on, just after the half hour. Arda Güler and then Bruno Mendes. And then in the second half, they managed to get a consolation goal after we'd made it 3-0. But then Ruol with another header, this time I think from a Krastev free kick, managed to give us the 4-1 victory and put us through to the semi-final of the Allianz Cup, yet another semi-final in that competition. And we've managed to avoid both Benfica and Porto. We've been drawn against Braga in the semi-final. And then we went away to Gil Vicente in the Taça de Portugal and basically battered them. We were 5-0 up at half-time, took our foot off the gas a bit in the second half, but added a couple of goals. Arda Güler was absolutely outstanding. Thiago Thomas got a hat-trick and an assist. That couldn't have gone much better. The only slight downside is that Nianzou had picked up an injury before that game, so we had to play Martinez at the back, and hopefully Nianzou will be back for the Porto game, but if not, then hopefully we can carry on this good run of form. We've not actually played a league game since the end of the last episode, so we're still 1 point clear of Porto, 5 points clear of Benfica. Everyone's now played 11 games. Thiago Thomas is the leading goal scorer in the league, along with Patrick Schick. Hopefully, home advantage against Porto, we can extend that gap over them and carry on this good run of form. The Champions League, following on from the victory over PSG, we're currently sat 4th on 13 points from 6 games. We're almost guaranteed to at least be in the playoff round. Hopefully, we can continue. We've got to the 2 games left we've got are against Copenhagen, who are in 29th, and AEK, who are in 32nd. Hopefully, we can pick up wins in both of those games and secure a spot in the top 8 and get the bye through to the round of 16. We've made a couple of changes going into the Porto game. Nianzou is fit enough to play without any real risk of complications. He's come back in instead of Martinez in the centre of the defence. We brought Santos and Fernandes back in instead of Morita and Krastev. Juan Musso came back and played a game in the previous game in the cup game against Gil Vicente, so hopefully he's fit enough. And we're going to persist with Rodrigo Ribeiro off the left-hand side because that front three's looked pretty good in recent weeks. Musso, Nianzou, Santos, Arda Güler, keeping the ball pretty well, moving it quickly. Ruolt, Arda Güler, looking for Thiago Thomas. What a start. brilliant start to the game. We've kept the ball well. We've moved it around nicely. Through ball into Ardigalet, takes a touch, lifts it over the two centre halves. Thiago Thomas on his chest. And what a finish. Right, they've got a corner. They've hit the bar this time. And how on earth have we put that in the back of our own net? What the hell? So they win the head, the keeper misses it. Nyanzu tries to clear it, hits Thomas and goes in the back of the net. Could we find any more ways to throw these games away? Thomas wins it back. Fernandez to Thomas. It's a hat-trick of some sort, I suppose, but at least this one's in the right end. We pressed them well. Thomas nicks it off David Carmo. Fernandez slides it past the centre half. Thomas takes a touch and then just dinks it. We started really well, got that early goal, and then I feel we let them back into the game. They did quite well with possession around the middle of the half. Obviously, we managed to give them a goal with that own goal, but thankfully we managed to get back on it and press them and pick up that second goal, but we need to be much better in the second half. Right, they've gone long from the keeper. Nyanzu wins the header. Rewalt looks for Ismail Assar, his first involvement. Back to Simovic. Back to Marita. White to Estevez. He hit it, it got deflected, and Thiago Thomas diverts it home for his hat-trick, his fourth goal of the game in some ways. We did well just to move it away from the defenders. Estevez in acres of space. He shot, dragged, cross goal, and Thomas just diverts it into the bottom corner. Right, Santos with the corner to the back post, and it works. Nyanzu gets a header, puts us 4-1 up, and things are a lot more comfortable now. Come back at us. Evan Nielsen, we can keep him that deep. Santos onto Vitor Roque. Marita. Matias Fernandez looking for Vitor Roque through the middle. And they're coming back, but Marita wins it back. Moreira to Sai, looked offside. Marcus Edwards turns it home. Guess Sai wasn't offside then. It might have just been the angle. So Marita onto Moreira, looking for Sarr, who I was sure was offside there. His cross, Vitor Roque's shot hits the keeper and the defender, and Edwards somehow bundles it home, and we're 5-1 up. In the end, really good second half, really strong performance. Dominated that game and come away with a 5-1 victory. Puts us 4 points clear of Porto at the top, with 5 points clear of Benfica, who were in third. And a great end to the calendar year. We've had an eventful month since the game against Porto. We've made it to the end of January. It's the last day of January. It's the Allianz Cup semi-final day. It's transfer deadline day. The eventful month has been eventful both on and off the pitch. Off the pitch, things have been pretty good. On the pitch, we have hit a bit of a dip, and part of that is my own fault in terms of the team selection. But firstly, just looking at the transfers, we've done some pretty serious outbound transfers. So El Yashkiri left to go to Leicester for 3.3 million. Vitor Roque had never really done it consistently for us since we signed him, so we cashed in and sold him to Stuttgart for 30 million. And then we got an offer of 70 million for Rodrigo Ribeiro. Now, there was never a plan to sell both Roque and Rodrigo Ribeiro in the same transfer window. We do have a lot of young strikers, but we were short. But 70 million up front was an awful lot to turn down, and in the end we couldn't turn it down. In terms of the incomings, we've signed 2 players. The first one is Jorge Filipe Corujas, who young Portuguese player who started with Gondomar, went to Juventus, had loan spells with Galatasaray and Sassuolo. We spent 42.5 million on him, which probably we overpaid. 45 million we probably overpaid, but he started 4 games in all competitions. He's scored 5 goals, he's got 1 assist, 2 man of the matches, and one of those games he came off injured after about 18 minutes. So really it's 5 goals in 3 games. The other reason we signed him as well is that he actually fits a need in the team for this next game against Braga in the semi-final of the Allianz Cup, which is he qualifies as an under-21 player. Unfortunately, like I say, he picked up an injury. He twisted his ankle in the game against Copenhagen in the Champions League. I say after 18 minutes, and he's going to be out for another 2 weeks. So not the best. The other signing we made was Alejandro Balde. Seemed just like a good deal to do. He's probably going to play. The initial thought is to play him on the left side of the attack. Just because we're struggling for bodies there. He may even push back to left back. But another reasonably decent deal. I think it was 15 million up front or 13.5 million up front or something like that. With extras to take it up to the full amount. So hopefully he can kick on for us. It almost got more eventful in the January transfer window because we did have an offer accepted for Pedri, who's been transfer listed by Barcelona as they don't need him anymore. And things were going well until we got to the wage demands. And there was a £300,000 a week gap between what we could offer and what he wanted. I think we could offer 180,000, and the absolute minimum he was willing to accept was 475,000 a week. So, yeah, that one hit the back burner at that point. He's still at Barcelona. He's just turned down a loan move to Man United. In terms of on the pitch, we went away to Maritimo, and it was a wild game. They opened the scoring. We got a penalty shortly afterwards that Rodrigo Ribeiro missed. They then went 2 in front on half hour. We then got another penalty that this time Arda Güler missed. We brought Ismail Assar on at half time, and he scored with practically his first touch. We equalised with a header from Rualt. And then in the 95th minute, we thought we'd won the game with Ismail Assar's goal, only for them to kick off, play the ball long over the top of the centre half for their centre forward to run on to get his hat trick. And I don't know whether he just caught the keeper by surprise, but the keeper didn't move. They went in the corner. They had 3 shots on target and drew the game 3-3. Yeah, it was not our finest performance, and somehow things even got worse after that. We were then at home to France, got a comfortable 2-0 victory. Tanguy Nianzou opened scoring with a header, and then Thiago Thomas added the second before half time. It was a comfortable victory. I mean, they had 1 shot in the whole game. We were then at home to AC Viseu, and this was Koruhas's first game for us. Scored after 6 minutes, scored again after 15, completed his hat-trick after 73, and then we got the obligatory header from a corner to round the game off for a lovely 4-0 victory. We then went away to Leiria in the quarter-final of the Taça de Portugal. And a workmanlike performance. We created the chances, we took 2 with them, we missed another penalty, but comfortably through to the semi-final, where we were drawn against Chavez, and like the Allianz Cup, managed to avoid both Benfica and Porto, who drawn against each other in the semi-final attack of Portugal as well as the Allianz Cup. We were then at home to Vitória Guimarães. First half, neither team really did much. Second half, we turned it on a bit. Thiago Tomas opened the scoring. Coruas added one. Sugo added the third. And Mark Edwards added the fourth. I mean, those 3 goals in 5 minutes to take the score from 1-0 to 4-0 just killed off any chance they had. I mean, again, they didn't have a shot on target. We played pretty well. We then went away to Copenhagen in the Champions League, and Thiago Tomas opened the scoring. Unfortunately, that was the game where Coruas went off injured. Ardagula added another in the second half. He's really hit the ground running since we signed him. Nice 2-0 victory, which guaranteed that we were at least going to be in the playoffs of the Champions League. We were then away at Benfica, and we didn't play well at all. We got a goal in the first half through Thiago Tomas. We were starting to hold on, and we'd arranged changes to come on, particularly to freshen up the defence. They scored. Those changes came on. They scored again, and we just couldn't get back into the game after that. And we ended up losing 2-1. We then, with the exception of Thiago Tomas starting up front, we then picked a sort of fully second string team for the game away at AEK, knowing that we'd already at least made the playoffs. We got off to a great start with Thiago Tomas scoring early. Ismail Assad, another one just before half time, and a Mark Edwards penalty in the second half. Saw us through to the round of 16. We've missed the playoffs, thankfully. At least that's 2 less games that we have to play. And it was a decent performance away from home. I mean, really, I think they were practically bottom of the league when we played them. So you would always expect us to pick up the 3 points there, and we did what we needed to do. We then went away to Casapia, and we played practically the same team that played against AEK, and they just did not perform. We were goal down after 5 minutes, and then Felipe Cardoso doubled their lead in the 76th minute. We pulled one back pretty quickly afterwards through Thiago Tomas, but basically we then didn't create another chance after that, and the only thing we did manage to do after that was get Thiago Tomas sent off for a wild lunge. So not what we needed, and it actually puts us into a pretty difficult position in the league, considering what our next league game is as well. So just quickly, the Champions League table, just to confirm, we finished 4th in the league phase. So obviously we've skipped the playoff round and straight into the round of 16. There are some very, very tough games in amongst the teams that are there, like Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Milan. I'm not sure I would actually fancy Porto over 2 legs, or Benfica. Napoli and Atletico are in there, Tottenham, Juventus. So chances are we're not going to get a particularly decent game in the round of 16, but hopefully, having played 2 less games, we can make it through. And then, as far as the league's concerned, we are still top, but we're only 2 points clear of Benfica, and they've got a game in hand. And the really bad thing is our next league game is at home to Benfica. So yeah, a pretty big game coming hot on the heels of this semi-final. So the team for the semi-final there, we had some issues up front in that was where our second under 21 player was going to play. Obviously, Coruas is injured. Thiago Tomas, who might have played, although he was not the under 21, we would have to find that somewhere else. He's injured and suspended. Mark Edwards is injured. So we brought Amindo Correa through from the B team to play up front. Jonathan Cound is the other under 21 player, and we've basically had to turn down offers from practically every major league in Europe for him on loan so far on deadline day, just so that he's available to play in this game. But hopefully we can we can reverse the form of the last couple of big domestic games and get ourselves through to yet another Allianz Cup final. Yeah. Unbelievable, I know, but Juan Musso apparently is the best goalkeeper in the world. Right, Simovic to Baldi. Right, straight back into it. What we found with those throws is normally those throws go to the opposition. But Baldi gets onto it, just runs past the defender, and just slots it home. And I suppose that's what we paid the big money for. Right. I mean, we need to be much better in the second half. We didn't wake up until they scored because we don't have an awful lot of other attacking options. And there we go. Santos with the corner, Ruot with the header. The old faithful gets us in front for the first time in the semi-final. And now we just need to hold on. Right, another Santos corner. Can we get Ruot at the near post again? Yes. Right. Now I can breathe a bit easier. And there we go. Full time. In the end, a pretty decent performance. But it did take until they opened the scoring for us to actually wake up. But plus side, yet another Allianz Cup final to come. And that's the end of this episode. We've made it through to an Allianz Cup final. It's going to be at the end of April against Benfica, who won on penalties against Porto. Overall, we've got a really big game to begin the next episode. Home to Benfica in the league. We're 2 points clear of them in the league, but they've got a game in hand, so it's vital that we beat them in that first game in the next episode. We've also got the Champions League round of 16 will be in the next episode. We've also got at least the first leg of the Taça de Portugal semi-final against Chaves, so some big games. But like I say, it's important come next episode that we hit the ground running at Benfica game. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you then.